The movie opens with an ancient legend, told through haunting animated cave drawings. Long ago, humanity lived in harmony with mystical water beings called Narfs, who emerged from the oceans to guide humans toward enlightenment. But over time, mankind became greedy and violent, turning away from their wisdom. Present-day Philadelphia, Cleveland Heap, the quiet superintendent of the Cove apartment complex, moves through his usual routine. He carefully checks the maintenance logs, fixes minor issues around the building, and interacts briefly with some tenants. He goes to ask around if anyone has been swimming in the pool, but can't get an answer until he gets to asking another resident who lived there, and the resident notices problems too, and when they check the pool's pipe they discover brown hair stuck in the pipe. One night, strange things start happening at the complex's swimming pool. Cleveland notices that someone is swimming after hours, but each time he investigates, the water is still. Suddenly a red-haired woman jumps out of the water but is pulled back in, and Cleveland instantly notices as he keeps trying to look who it was, but he slips and falls into the pool and he struggles underwater. Gasping for breath, Cleveland looks up at his mysterious savior. Cleveland wants to know who she is, and she whispers her name is Story. He realizes that she is the woman that was in the water. Cleveland takes Story back to his apartment. She is barefoot, trembling, and childlike in her mannerisms, as if she doesn't fully understand the world around her. When they go outside, Cleveland sees a shadowy figure, and when Story sees it she screams in fear, so they quickly go back inside. The next morning when Cleveland comes back home, he sees Story showering and wants to know if she is going to see someone, and she claims she is going to see a writer. Shortly after, he decided to go question Harry Farber, who Cleveland thinks is the writer. Harry lets him know about Mrs. Bell, who also writes, but she reveals she hasn't wrote anything for 20 years. Cleveland goes around the complex asking residents if they are writing anything, but he still can't get an answer. Later that day, while he is helping a tenant with their lights, he sees a book that says don't read on it, so he continues his work. Then it flips on its own, titled Cookbook. Curious, he asks the tenant what it is, and their words doesn't sit right with him. When Cleveland gets back to Story, he lets her know who she really is, and the writer she needed to see isn't really a writer, and it only wants to see her, so Cleveland lets her go outside by the pool by herself. A little while after, he sees her panicking with scratches on her and tries to know what happened. Then a wolf-like creature called a scrunt tries to attack them, but they manage to move away from it. The next day, Cleveland seeks insight from Young Soon Choi, a tenant who lives in the complex. During the phone call, Cleveland expresses his confusion and worry about what is happening, especially with the scrunt, an ominous creature that seems to be chasing Story. Young Soon meets with Cleveland face to face, and she explains that Story is a Narf, a mythical creature from an ancient legend, and that she has come to the apartment complex for a specific purpose. With Cleveland understanding Story, he lets her know that he thinks he knows why the scrunt needs Story. The next day, Cleveland goes to speak with Harry, and he explains to Cleveland that in every story, characters have specific roles. He suggests that the key to understanding what's happening is figuring out which residents fit these roles. He realizes that this perspective might help him uncover the truth behind Story's presence and the danger surrounding her. Later that day, Cleveland introduces Story to Mr. Dury and Mrs. Bell to try and help Story make it back to her world she used to live in, and they have to do it the very next night. As the conversation unfolds, it becomes clearer that Story's arrival is part of a larger purpose, and the pieces of the puzzle are slowly falling into place. With Cleveland being Story's protector, he decided to go outside at night to see the scrunt. Story communicates with him through a walkie-talkie, and she tells him what to do, and the scrunt rises from the grass and notices Cleveland. Story claims the scrunt is supposed to back up, but it was moving towards him, so she yells run. Then the scrunt disappears, and Harry notices him on the ground, so he tries to play it off like nothing happened. After what happened, he tells her he can no longer protect her against the scrunt. As Story prepares to leave, the scrunt launches a full attack. This time, Cleveland and the tenants work together. The true guardian is revealed as Reggie, a muscular tenant who unknowingly had the strength for this moment. Staring down the scrunt, just when it seems all hope is lost, a deep growl echoes through the night. The Tartutic, three fearsome ape-like enforcers, emerge from the trees. The scrunt panics, its body stiffening. It knows it has broken the rules by attacking Story outside its boundaries. The Tartutic sees the scrunt and drag it away into the darkness, punishment for its defiance. With the danger gone, Story's final moment arrives. They hug each other as they say their goodbyes, and Cleveland gently helps Story into the pool where her original world was. Thanks for watching until the end, and if you made it this far, make sure you subscribe for more breakdowns.